challenge I will talk about right now is maybe at the end of this conversation, I'll get to know which band I am. Because I live in federal housing. Right now, the three of us happen to live in federal housing on Anambra State. And also, Sapientia happens to be located in federal housing, you know, on Anambra State. But then, let's talk about the biggest news in Nigeria right now, and that has to do with the electricity tariff hike in the country. So many things have been said. We can't pretend we didn't see this coming. In fact, when the Minister of Power came up sometime last month, towards the end of last month, and started, he flew the kites by talking about how much the federal government was spending on electricity subsidy. At that point, I said
something was going to happen.
Yes, this is going to happen. And so the government bypassed. I'm not preempting anything, but the government bypassed every process it was supposed to take by its own agreement during the 2013 privatization process, that before there is a hike in electricity tariff, you're going to call the stakeholders, critical stakeholders, on a table. So you give your facts. Everybody looks at it. You look at the A and the B and the C and the numbers, and then you agree, okay, what is appropriate at this point? They bypass all of that, and I think it was last week, we just woke up to the papers telling us NEC had approved, and it was beginning. We were given that information, I think, April 2nd or 3rd.
No, 1st. I think it came out on the 1st. Some people felt it was April Fool and all that, and then eventually came to stay.
But then they said it was to begin, because I actually thought it had started before the but then it's still okay. Now, let's talk about this. And what is your opinion? Because some people support it. They think it is simply the government going back to charging cost, reflective tariff. And some people think this is going to hurt the economy. Where do you stand in all of this?
No, you don't need to think far on this. You understand? Because sometimes when some decisions come, you begin to think whether these people are in this country with us. You understand? So many people have insisted that this is quite insensitive, especially considering, because sometimes you look at the mood of the economy, you look at the state of things, I mean, how things are. You understand, we are not out from the fuel and the gas issues yet. You understand, transportation costs, the FX issues or whatever, and you are now dumping this immediately on people and all that. And, you begin to wonder, are these people really in Nigeria? Are these people really in this country? You understand? So whether cost-effective tariff and all those whatever is, as far as I'm concerned, it is quite insensitive. Because there are two issues to it. It's not just about band A, band B, band C, band whatever. Because when they say, these people are supposed to have electricity 20 to 24 hours. I begin to wonder, okay, where's the electricity? You said something, I thought you are going somewhere when you say we are living in a fair house. Now, we don't even know the band. Maybe we are in band C. You are
the one to tell us. Because we have less than 4 hours a day.
Okay, you have. You understand? I thought you are coming to zero. You understand? So when you're on zero, I don't know whether we are on band Z or band where are we? You understand? So is about the hike, is about availability. You understand? So it's not just enough to say that somebody is on band B. You're supposed to have 16 to 20. Where is the 16 to 20? You understand? You're supposed to be on band C. Where is this? So it's about availability. It's not there. It's about, we used to have issues of discos, gencos, all the issues. You understand that this will generate and this will cannot distribute, this are owing and all that. Now we've gone to this. You understand? And the final analysis is that it keeps hurting the economy. It keeps, you understand, people were clapping that we just came out from the FX rates, coming down on a steady basis. And people are wondering that it's not affecting, we are not seeing it reflect on the cost of food prices and all that. You understand? Yes, and this has also come on board. So we keep giving, the economy the excuse, for things to keep spiraling, going up and all that. So as far as I'm concerned, this is insensitive. This came at the wrong time. And I honestly do not see plenty of positives, apart from all the grammar surrounding some of these things. It is quite wrong. It keeps hurting the economy. People are not getting the whatever. When you get over there to buy your diesel or fuel, the price is also high. You understand? So it's a critical challenge. It's a critical problem. You understand? To me, I would have suggested that maybe government should just hold on this. You understand? Let's, focus on the issue of availability of power first. When we sort out, because sometimes, to be very frank with you, that's my opinion. I think that's the opinion of the majority of people. If in 24 hours I have electricity, I have power, I have this moral obligation to want to look for NEPA office to go and pay. You understand? In fact, sometimes one of my friends was saying that they even get scared when they have light for 3-4 days. You understand that something may just blow up and there won't be light for the next 1 year. You understand? But the truth is that when we have power for a day, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, you have this moral obligation that you want to pay. So sometimes it's not just about the hike; it's more about availability of power. If power is available, people may not even consider about, because when on an honest note, you put the hike side by side with the cost of fuel at the station, you find that fuel is still more expensive, for you to generate power in your house, on your office, on your, in your factory, it's still much more expensive, but let it first be available. Then we'll now begin to look at the, the increment, the hike.
Let it first be available before we look at the increment. I still come to, and honestly, this is what I think. It still comes down to accountability.
Okay.
Government being accountable. It's almost going to seem as though I'm going to ask you the same question I asked you when we talked about health.
Yes.
Why am I going to sound as if it's the same way? It is because I still see this as a problem of accountability. So till date, even our little children, when there is light, they say up NEPA. So it tells us we are coming from somewhere. We are coming from the days of NEPA. And the days of NEPA can be summarized with, you summarize it with saying, government controlled the power sector.
That's true. Yeah.
Government had put in the infrastructure, government ran the power sector, government controlled the power sector, government generated, government distributed, government transmitted, everything. And government collected money.
That's true.
A government agency called NEPA, National Electric Power Authority. And then we said, they explained to us, it was carefully sold to us. Some of us bought it, some of us did not buy it. But we then had issues with how many hours we were having with power. Hours of power we were getting. We said it became never expect power always. That was what we said. Now they explained to us that we are going to privatize this.
Yes, that's true.
And they now had a chip to sell to us because this had been privatized. Nitel, and so we knew what privatization meant, and so they told us that okay, it's just the way you have your MTN, if you don't like this, and we are going to meter you. I'm talking about the conditions they said was going to be met, and then when the private guys come in, they are going to have access to funds, both international and local. And so they would do all of these things that makes us, they said the problem then was the transmission lines. They were going to make it up to date. And so if you want power, you pay for it. If you don't want power in your house for a year, you simply don't recharge. They sold all of these things to us. And then came the era of PHCN. PHCN came in and we started running. And then we also had complaints. And they told us, wait a minute, you know what we'll do? We'll unbundle these guys. Then they sold the English of unbundling.
Yes, that's true.
We called PHC and something.
Problem has changed name.
But, it was the power holding company of Nigeria. And we said, what was happening was that we chose the wrong name. That these guys were actually withholding power. And then that was when we came to this arrangement. They said, okay, see, we're going to unbundle this. Let some guys come in, be responsible for generation. We call them Gencos today.
Yes, that's true.
And then let us have, an outfit, an agency, just transmitter, the TCN.
The TCN.
And then let us have some guys. All they do is distribute to you. And these are the guys you are going to liaise with. They are going to have a human face. They are going to know your name. They are going to know your address. They are going to know what you need and all of that. And then they are going to be called discos, right? And so we gave off all of these things. I'm going to come to asking you as, your specialty, as what happens when somebody owns, because the federal government went ahead and kept 60% equity.
Yeah, that's true.
In the Gencos and the discos. Your specialty is, how is that privatization? And then came to the middle body, the TCN, transmission, and held 100% equity. I'm also going to ask you, how does that, because I'm going to ask you two questions. How is that also privatization when you hold 100% of a critical, because transmission is very critical, because when you generate and you don't transmit, I don't have anything to distribute. So that is one question you are going to talk to. But then, as it has to do with all these discos and gencos, meeting, I didn't sign it with them. Yes. What they signed and was told to us was that once they come on board, they were going to fix all of these issues. Our transmission lines were going to be 100%. Every home was going to be metered. They agreed to this. I think it was a 3-year period, either 2-year or 3-year period they were given to ensure everybody is metered. They also agreed that they were going to come in with how many kVA transmitters, what they call it, transformers, and all of that. Now this is 2024. These discos I've not seen. I don't know, maybe you've seen in your line of work. I've not seen any input they've put into this, but we keep having this. So the two questions are this. Accountability, as it has to do with the government ensuring that all the players play by the rules they signed to. That is one. And then the second one, also explain to us, when you say privatization, our own layman understanding is that privatization is going from government to private. So how does these two questions, how do you explain this?
You understand? Firstly, I really commend you, understand, because when you are saying, your memory is something else. You understand? Because you are just reminding us.
I'm the media.
You understand? I just kept laughing. You understand? Because these guys have actually taken us for a ride. You understand? And it's quite saddening and unfortunate, you know, because you call it accountability, I call it sincerity. Okay. You understand? You know, because, you know, when you say you want to privatize, what that means is that you want to hands off and let professionals, those who understand how to do these things, do it, and you know, now keep to all the promises you had sold to us, the chips they sold to us, and let these things work. But when you hold 100%, when you hold 60%, it begins to question the integrity of the whole process. It begins to question the sincerity, you know, of what we are talking about. So that's firstly the challenge, the issue that we have. Until that is resolved, we may not even begin to talk about the efficiency, the effectiveness of the discos, of the gencos, of the people to transmit. And so that's the fundamental problem. You understand? Because government wants to eat their cake and have it. You understand? They want to release, they also want to hold. You understand? And that has been the problem from, you know, NEPA to PACN to this, to the banding, that where we have come now. You understand? And there's no guarantee that in the next 2 or 3 years, they won't come to sit again and say, it appears like we made a mistake in the name, or we made a mistake in the process, we made a mistake, whatever. Let's come. But the bottom line is, how do we ensure that people have power? Then we now go back to what volume of power are we even generating in Nigeria? You understand? So because it's not just about what we do at the top level, at the over-the-counter level. It's at the low level where we generate that power. What do we generate? What's our population? You know, so when you do the population to what we generate, what does it come to by units and all that? You understand? So these are the fundamental issues. These are the fundamental problems. We can begin to bam the discourse, the names and whatever. But the source, you know, when you have the issues of insecurity, you have people blowing up pipelines, you have so many of these issues. So let's go back to those areas. When we sort that, then we now come to what government is actually doing. Because as far as we keep saying that government has no business being in business, we keep saying all those things, government should whatever, but you find out that the Nigerian government will insist that why they are pretending and why they are telling people, why they are saying that they are releasing, they're still holding. You understand? And that's where the accountability you talked about now comes to play, because nobody is seeing their numbers, nobody is seeing the figures, nobody is actually knowing exactly how much is being sold, and you understand? So the distribution companies are now also coming out openly and clearly to tell us this is what we've generated, this is what we've sold, this is what we're, you know, so many of these things are opaque. We are not really seeing anything. So which, you know, begins to make somebody wonder what is actually happening in the economy. So in summary, what I'm actually saying is that we have multiplicity of issues and problems that need to be resolved. Let's go back to the basics. Let's come up to, you know, come up in terms of power generation before we now get into, you know, all the transmission and distribution issues and all that. And it's you know, because all these affect the economy. You understand? Because when the factories are not, and they can't employ, they can't pay taxes, and you have touts and hoodlums going to shut up the factory. You have the regulatory agencies, and everywhere it begins to appear like there's going to be an implosion in the economy. You understand? So these are issues, surrounding them, which the final part, which is what we talked about, the accountability. It's a problem. It's a problem.
Yeah. Well, after all we have said, I think there's also need for public sensitization when certain changes are supposed to take place. I think Nigeria Electricity Regulatory Commission could have delivered a well thought through transition plan, over a period of say 6 to 9 months, with a model allowing everyone to see what an increased tariff and electricity supply would mean. Because just getting up and saying Band A is going to pay this amount and so on, you leave the common man. You and I can pick up documents and read and have a clear understanding, but not everyone, especially in a community like ours where everybody wakes up in the morning and is rushing to a main market somewhere. When you take a period of time, this way the citizens can adjust, make alternative arrangements and plan accordingly. Then engagement are essential for building trust and all of these things. Now, I've said it before that the necessity of public sensitization on these matters that can affect people's livelihood is very important. So there is a need to prepare the public before implementing any new policy that has a significant impact on the livelihoods of people. So that's just the later information I want to add there, Geoman.
Even though they all agreed to that, I mean, they all agreed to that nobody will wake up. At least that was what they told us. That nobody will wake up, because that was the fear, ab initio, of those who were against this. Because anytime government comes up with an idea, there'll be those who are for and those who are against. And then you advance your argument. One of the argument was, no, fear not. Like Christ would say, fear not. Because no, we wouldn't do this. And that was where the whole idea of introducing NEC came in.
Yes,
so NEC was supposed to be on the side of the consumers.
Yes,
on the side of the consumers. And so before these discos do anything, they were supposed to liaise with NEC, not just NEC, but NLC, TUC, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and then, the entire, but they've chambers of commerce, but they never did that in this case. All right, finally is to also talk about the, when I was in school, one of our lecturers will always tell us that politics is the granddaddy of social science, because I was